What do we do with a chronic failure? How should a leader handle someone who repeatedly breaks the rules and refuses to change? Consider the protagonist of Les Miserables. He is a man living in unbearable poverty, driven to steal small amounts of food simply to survive a gnawing hunger. He is caught, thrown into prison, and tries to escape. Our standard logic dictates that pain corrects behavior, so the system slams an iron prison door on his life, extending his sentence year after year. But this creates a psychological backfire. Instead of reforming him, every new punishment trains his mind to endure. He builds rigid armor around his core self to survive the hostility. When he finally returns to the world, society chases him away. These rejections confirm his fears, and that defensive shell hardens into stone, bouncing off any attempt to reach him. The conventional model of escalating punishment hits a dead end. It acts as a training ground, teaching the human ego exactly how to become a fortress against the outside world. Eventually, the man stumbles into the home of a village priest. To his shock, the priest offers immediate sanctuary, providing a warm meal and a place to stay. But decades of hardened survival instinct override a single evening of kindness. Waking in the middle of the night, the man steals the priest's silverware and flees. He doesn't make it far. The police arrest him and haul him back to the priest's house. He stands there trembling, waiting for the inevitable. At this moment, the thief knows what happens next. We know what happens next. The crime will be punished, he will go back to prison, and his hatred for the world will be entirely justified. But the priest looks at the police and lies. He tells them the silver was a gift. Then he picks up his own silver candlesticks, hands them to the thief, and asks why he left them behind. The police release the man. In a single moment, the entire mechanism of crime and punishment is derailed. The Zen tradition records a nearly identical interaction, proving this psychological mechanism exists across cultures. In one story, disciples catch a student stealing. They drag him before their Zen master, threatening to leave the monastery entirely if the thief isn't expelled. The master refuses to banish him, stating he will not send the man away even if every other student leaves. Faced with a hardened, repeat offender, both leaders bypassed the logical system of justice. They deliberately deployed an extreme, completely unearned level of forgiveness. Why did the Zen thief break down in tears? And why did this moment of grace redirect the trajectory of the Frenchman's life? The mystic Sadhguru provides a psychological framework for this. He explains that the human ego is an adaptive survival mechanism. When you are increasingly harsh on a person, they adapt. They figure out how to handle the friction you provide, making them more resilient to your punishments. Radical compassion acts as a systemic shock. It bypasses psychological armor because it offers no friction for the ego to fight. Grace flows right through the walls. The mind spent years building defenses against pain, but has zero defense for undeserved kindness. The structure collapses. Radical compassion acts as an active disruptor. While a hammer only shatters a rock, sufficient heat can melt it. This brings us back to the mindset of the leaders. They evaluate people based on latent potential, rather than judging them solely by their present, flawed capabilities. As Sadhguru notes, someone planting a coconut sapling doesn't rip it out of the ground after the 4th week because it hasn't produced a nut. True leaders operate on a much longer timeline. They deploy radical compassion to bring human capability to fruition when it is not yet visible.
What if you are the one seeking growth? Placing rigid conditions on a mentor or an environment is simply the ego throwing its weight around to avoid change. To experience genuine transformation, you must allow uncomfortable situations to break down your defensive limitations. Surrendering the impulse to be defensive allows the melting power of compassion to bring your latent potential to fruition.